Welcome to True Life Lessons. Today we explore the profound difference between comfort and peace through the journey of a boy named Mark. In a quiet town nestled between rolling green hills, life moved slowly, and the sun always seemed to shine a little brighter. Mark was a young man who loved nothing more than the sweet taste of comfort and avoiding any form of hard work. He would always find a clever excuse to escape chores, preferring to watch the world go by from his shady spot. One bright morning, the town mayor gathered everyone in the square to announce the annual festival at the ancient temple on the mountain. The journey to the temple was known to be arduous, requiring courage and patience to navigate the steep and rocky mountain paths. Mark's friends were immediately filled with energy, packing their bags and lacing up their boots, eager to start the challenging adventure. When they asked Mark to join, he simply laughed and pointed to his comfortable chair, refusing to leave his safe bubble. He told them he would rather enjoy the cool breeze at home than sweat and struggle on a dusty and dangerous trail. His friends shrugged their shoulders and waved goodbye, marching off towards the horizon with high spirits and a sense of purpose. Mark went back to his sofa and turned on the television. But the house felt unusually quiet, and the air felt heavy. The comfort he cherished so much suddenly felt like isolation, and the silence of the empty town began to weigh on him. He looked out the window at the deserted street and realized that everyone else was out creating memories while he was stagnating. A strange feeling of emptiness rose within his chest, a realization that he was trading meaningful experiences for temporary physical ease. He stared at his old, dusty backpack in the corner, fighting a battle between his love for laziness and a desire for growth. Suddenly, he made a choice to abandon his comfort zone, grabbing his gear with a newfound determination to catch up with them. He locked his door and ran into the street, his eyes fixed on the distant peak where his friends were heading. He ran past the familiar shops and houses, leaving behind the safety of the town to enter the unknown wilderness ahead. The flat road quickly turned into a steep incline, and Mark's lungs began to burn as the reality of the journey hit. From above, he was just a tiny figure moving slowly against the vast landscape, realizing how small he was compared to the mountain. The sun climbed higher in the sky, beating down on him with no mercy, making every step feel heavier than the last. In his haste, he tripped over a jagged rock and fell hard, scraping his knee and feeling the sharp sting of pain. He sat in the dirt, clutching his leg, and for a moment the voice in his head told him to turn back. He looked back at the valley below, seeing his home as a distant speck, realizing he had already come too far to quit. Gritting his teeth against the pain, he forced himself to stand up and keep moving, driven by a spark of new resilience. The path led him into a dense forest where the shadows were cool, but the terrain became even more rugged and unpredictable. He paused to take a sip of water, realizing his supply was running low and he still had a long way to go. The sounds of the wild surrounded him, reminding him that he was alone in this challenge, with no one to rely on. He faced a vertical climb that required him to use his hands and feet, pulling his body weight up against gravity. His soft hands, unused to labor, were now scratched and dirty, grasping at roots and rocks to find a secure hold. He pulled himself onto a ledge, gasping for air, his heart pounding in his chest like a drum from the intense exertion. Just as he felt he could not go on, he saw a group of elderly villagers descending the path with calm smiles. Mark looked at them in bewilderment, wondering how these fragile people could navigate such a brutal path with such apparent ease. One of the elders stopped and offered Mark a fresh apple, seeing the exhaustion and desperation written all over his face. Mark took the fruit and asked the elder why they chose this suffering, when they could be resting comfortably in their homes. The old man pointed up to the misty peak and then placed a weathered hand gently over his own beating heart. He looked at Mark with deep wisdom and said that true peace is not found by hiding from the difficulties of life. He explained that comfort is merely a temporary state of the body, while peace is a lasting reward for the soul. Peace is earned through effort, persistence, and the satisfaction of finishing what you have started, no matter how hard it gets. The group continued their descent, leaving Mark alone again, but his mind was now buzzing with the weight of their words. He took a bite of the crisp apple and felt a surge of energy, standing up straighter with a renewed sense of purpose. The afternoon sun began to dip lower, casting long golden shadows across the path, signaling that night would be falling soon. Mark moved with more agility now, his body adapting to the rhythm of the climb, ignoring the aches in his muscles. Darkness wrapped around the mountain, and Mark had to rely on his small light to guide him through the treacherous terrain. The night was cold and filled with strange noises, but fear had been replaced by a burning desire to reach the top. Sweat dripped from his brow, and his legs trembled with fatigue, yet his spirit remained unbroken as he pushed through the night. Suddenly, he saw the faint flicker of torches high above him, a beacon of hope promising that the end was near. The final stretch was a staircase of ancient stone carved into the cliff, steep enough to test the resolve of any traveler. He climbed one step at a time, his breath coming in ragged gasps, refusing to let his physical exhaustion stop him now. As he neared the summit, the sky began to lighten, painting the horizon in breathtaking shades of violet and soft pink. With one final heave, Mark pulled himself onto the plateau, collapsing to his knees, but wearing a smile of pure triumph. His friends rushed over to help him up, cheering loudly and patting him on the back for completing the difficult journey. He stood up and looked out at the world below, seeing the clouds beneath his feet and the sun rising majestically. The golden light of dawn flooded the temple grounds, washing away the darkness and revealing the beauty of the ancient structure. Mark took a deep breath of the crisp mountain air, feeling a sense of serenity that he had never experienced at home. He realized that the comfort of his sofa was nothing compared to the deep satisfaction of overcoming his own limitations. He looked at his scratched hands and dirty clothes, wearing them like badges of honor rather than signs of suffering. He joined the festivities with a heart full of joy, his energy renewed by the realization of his own inner strength. He even found the strength to help others who arrived later, sharing the water and encouragement he had wished for earlier. Standing at the gate of the temple, Mark understood that he had not just climbed a mountain, but he had conquered himself. Like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon, he had broken free from the shell of comfort to find his true wings. He looked down at the tiny town where he used to hide, realizing that safety is good, but growth happens in the wild. He understood now that comfort is a silent thief that steals opportunities, while adversity is the teacher that builds character. As the festival wound down, Mark prepared to leave, but he knew he was not returning as the same lazy boy. His descent was easier, not just because of gravity, but because his mind was now fortified with confidence and self-belief. Back in his home, he walked past his favorite chair, no longer feeling the magnetic pull to sit and do nothing. Instead, he picked up his tools and started fixing the fence, finding joy in the simple act of being productive. The neighbors watched in surprise as the boy who once avoided all work was now the most active person on the street. Mark's journey teaches us that comfort provides temporary ease, but it often comes at the cost of our personal development. True peace is the feeling of a rough stone being polished into a gem through the friction of hard work. Years later, Mark would tell the children that the most beautiful views are only reserved for those willing to climb. We all have our own mountains to climb, and the temptation to stay in the valley of comfort is always strong. But remember, a ship in a harbour is safe, but that is not what ships are built for. Go out, face your challenges, and find the true peace that waits for you on the other side of effort. Thank you for watching True Life Lessons. If this story inspired you, please like and subscribe for more wisdom every week.